I feel it's because like this school like it's viewed as more of the dirty school, or like basically like people think like this school doesn't give you any like more chances than Summit does, which isn't even really true. But I feel like that's the reason why more black people come here, and then the white people tend to stay at Summit. And I also think it's like their parents too, because they also think that this school is dirty as well.
That's a good question. Why do students go to more black students go to East STEM than no? I'm sorry. Why do more black students go to Bell than East STEM? Um,
I don't know that I've given that much thought, so I don't really have a good answer to speculate. I don't want to speculate.
to be honest, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't have the answer to that.
Reynoldsburg taught me to be like cool for yourself, like be there for yourself, and not everybody's gonna be there for you. Just know who you are, because at the end of the day, you're the only one that matters.
Brownsburg High School has taught me that if you are not a straight A student, that they do not care about you and that they will not work with you extra. They just act like that they're going to be there for you to help you if you need help, if you have questions, but they're really not at all. I feel like our teachers will view black kids as probably being more disruptive, not paying attention in class, just playing around rather than the white kids who would probably more likely to just, sit there and be quiet. But it's not true. Everyone's their own person.
I feel as though it's pretty even. I mean, sometimes they might, give other people, like white people, more chances for stuff sometimes, but I feel like it's pretty even though, all around.
I feel like it's almost impossible to not have some sort of bias inside of you. So I feel like everybody does. There's a difference between explicit bias, which is knowing that you are biased and explicitly showing that bias, versus an implicit bias where you are unaware that you are exhibiting a bias. So some people know they're biased or prejudiced or racist and they don't care and they show that outwardly. And some people, due to where they have grown up or how they were raised, don't necessarily know that they're being racist or prejudiced or biased. So to answer your question, I feel like everyone has biases. It just depends on how they're shown.
But I definitely think that teachers, when they see black students, they probably think of them more to be more disruptive and stuff like that, just because their skin color.
Everybody has students that you click with a little bit better. A lot of them have been African American. I've written lots of recommendations for African American students as they're applying for scholarships in colleges and different things.
There's a lot of people from different backgrounds here. For example, like I'm Haitian, there's Somalians here, there's Ethiopians, there's a lot of diversity in the school, and that's really cool to me.
I feel like our racial diversity at this campus, at least, is really good.
I think that our school is extremely diverse, and the diversity of our student body really makes me happy.
I'm trying to think. We have a lot of people from a lot of different places. Rather than like at Summit, they have predominantly like white kids and stuff. But here we have everyone, which is great. It's okay.
All right, the time that I had an unequal, oh, hold on,
A time I have like noticed or
unequal racial encounter was, it was like a lunch line, and they tell us like, we still had to pay at this age. It was like, oh, I don't have this amount of change, and they was like, okay, it's okay, you can go. I was like, well, I have the same amount as them, because I thought, if I was like the new kid, they was like, well, you still have to pay full amount, so you can't get your lunch. And I'm like, all right, cool, if I can't get my lunch, that's fine. It happened all the time at that school. It was just naturally the racist school.
Racially biased, to me, racially biased means that you are more biased towards people that do not share the same skin color as you. So, for example, I'm a black woman. If I was to exhibit racial bias, I might treat someone differently that was not black. So that's kind of what that means to me.
one time after homecoming, a black student and a white student were fighting. The black student got handcuffed and arrested, but the white student, he got to leave.
down the hallways. If we run, say they running, it's okay. If we running, because there was only like a couple of us. I'm saying us as in like people, so, you know. But yeah. That's it.
The relationship I have with my teachers, the teachers do a good job.
Okay, guys, ladies, gentlemen, I need your attention, please.
It depends on which teacher it is. Like, some of my teachers I'm really close with, and like we talk about things outside of school, and like they know me on like personal levels, and like I know them. But then with other teachers, it's like we don't talk, and we're just student and teacher relationship.
The relationship that I have with my teachers are pretty good. Some are better than others. Most of the time, it's pretty good with all the teachers that I've had.
Have I ever felt the need to communicate differently with white students and black students? No, I feel like I have a cultural similarity, a cultural sameness with black students because I am a black woman, but I don't necessarily feel the need to communicate differently to either group.
Yes, I do feel like teachers teach differently based on like the skin color of students. Like I feel like they may pay more attention to their white students because they feel like their white students are like more well behaved maybe. But say the white kid and the black kid needs help, they're gonna go to the white kid first. And I've witnessed it multiple times.
I feel as though teachers don't really hold racial biases or stereotypes. I feel like it's the teacher's job to view each student the same and not think of them as their color and stuff like that. So I feel like they're pretty good on that.
Absolutely.
Explain.
Absolutely. So you asked me, is teaching a white student the same as teaching a black student? I would say absolutely to that. But again, when you really try to reach a student, I feel like a good teacher tries to get to know each student, and each student obviously comes with a lot of baggage. Has such a negative connotation, but students come into the classroom with a unique identity, whether that be their skin color or the sport they play or the music that they listen to or the clubs they participate in. So I wouldn't necessarily break it down by color. As far as teaching students, yes, you can teach any student, but you want to get to know each student for who they are, or try to. And then obviously, and this kind of speaks to your biases, every teacher, again, has a skin color and a cultural background. So you're going to have more similarities with certain students just because of who you are.
I think we actually have a lot of diversity. We have students from lots of different backgrounds, and not just racially, but ethnically. Like culturally, there's a lot of differences within our student body, and I think that's really good. I think that students should be able to experience people who are different than they are. I think it makes your perspective wider. I think it makes you a more understanding person, and I think that we all have something to learn from.
I think a student's performance is based on their preparedness and for a test or a standardized test or the class period. I don't necessarily think color has anything to do with successful test scores or being successful in a classroom.
For sure, I think I do. For example, I took bodies last year. So I was in like a whole bunch of college classes. I was taking Columbus State, bio, government, ethics, and I'm still taking Columbus State classes now. So I'm gonna be going into college with like at least 30 college credits. So it's gonna be good for me in the future.
So I know the statistics, like the national statistics, which say that it's less common. But I also know the experience of Reynoldsburg. And when we look at our valedictorians and we look at kids with the GPA chords, those are kids of all colors. They're very well represented in those groups.
School is a lot different, I think mostly because of the technology aspect and the social media aspect. I didn't have that back in high school. I got my first, I think cell phones were just like being popular. I got my first cell phone when I was a senior in high school. So the technology aspect of high school is really different from when I was in high school. Culturally, however, I went to a very similar high school. It was very diverse. So me teaching here and the diversity of the student body is very much like when I was in high school.
So I mean, I feel like it's been very positive. It's been a nice mix of students here in Reynoldsburg the whole time that I've been here. There's been lots of diversity for the last 10 years.
You want me to say more? I don't know. You don't even have to say anything. We can just like put this. We're having an interview. We're having a great time out here. You looked great. Wow, I really did, y'all.